10 Things that Destroy Love in Long-Term Relationships. It doesn't happen overnight. Love doesn't suddenly disappear, nor does it collapse in a spectacular, tragic moment like the last scene of a movie. More often, it erodes in silence, slowly, invisibly, and without any dramatic music to warn us. What begins as a deep, passionate connection gradually dissolves into distance, irritation, or numb routine. And perhaps the saddest part of it all is that most couples never see it coming. They only notice something is broken when it feels too late to fix it. What kills love in long-term relationships is not usually betrayal, abuse, or dramatic fights, though those are certainly powerful enough. Instead, it's the accumulation of small, seemingly trivial behaviors or patterns that chip away at the foundation of emotional intimacy. And when these things aren't addressed early, they metastasize into disconnection, resentment, and finally, indifference. Let's begin with silence. The kind of silence that comes not from peace, but from avoidance. Early in a relationship, lovers talk for hours, eager to learn everything about each other. But over time, if couples stop sharing their thoughts, dreams, and even their daily frustrations, a wall begins to form. Emotional withdrawal is subtle. One day you realize that you haven't really talked, not about logistics or errands, but really talked, for weeks. You stop asking questions. You assume you already know the answers. The silence is no longer comfortable. It's cold. Conversations become functional, like briefings. Pick up the groceries. Don't forget the meeting. And eventually, nothing meaningful is left to say. Love starves in that silence. Then there's the myth of effortlessness. Some people think that love, when it's real, shouldn't require work. This belief is both romantic and tragically destructive. Relationships do require maintenance, deliberate effort, even when you're tired. When you stop putting in that effort, even in small ways, love starts to feel taken for granted. You stop dressing up for each other. You stop initiating intimacy. You stop trying to surprise, comfort, or impress. And that quiet neglect breeds dissatisfaction. Love, like a garden, needs to be watered even on the days you'd rather sleep. Criticism is another silent killer. Not the kind that comes in moments of anger, but the kind that trickles in every day. Small jabs, nitpicking, subtle put-downs disguised as jokes. A comment about how they load the dishwasher. A sigh when they forget something. An eye roll when they talk about a dream. When one partner becomes more of a critic than a cheerleader, love shrinks. We all want to be seen as competent, admirable, and worthy of affection by the person we love most. Constant criticism makes people defensive, then bitter, then emotionally distant. It tells them, "You are not enough for me." And over time, they start to believe it. Unresolved resentment is a poison that accumulates slowly. Every couple has arguments. But when those arguments are never truly resolved, when apologies are skipped, or when forgiveness is only verbal but not emotional, a slow burning anger festers. It might come from broken promises, unmet needs, or repeated dismissals. And as resentment builds, affection dies. You can't feel close to someone you resent. You might sleep in the same bed, share the same routines, but internally, there's a locked vault of anger that keeps the heart guarded. Eventually, love can't reach past the barricade. One of the most underestimated destroyers of love is comparison. In the age of social media, this is more prevalent than ever. You look at someone else's marriage, their vacations, their smiles, their perfect anniversary posts, and you start to measure your own relationship against a highlight reel. But even outside of Instagram, people compare to exes, to fictional relationships, to idealized standards. This comparison breeds dissatisfaction and pressure. You begin to wish your partner was more like someone else, more attentive, more ambitious, more romantic. And they feel it. They may not know exactly what's wrong, but they sense they're being measured and falling short. Love doesn't survive in a place where one or both partners feel inadequate. Emotional laziness is another silent threat. In the beginning, love is fueled by curiosity. You ask questions, listen deeply, stay up all night exploring each other's minds. But over time, if curiosity dies, so does emotional depth. You assume you already know everything there is to know about your partner. You stop being curious about their changing dreams, struggles, fears, and they stop sharing. The emotional intimacy that once felt like a sacred connection begins to fade. You become strangers with shared responsibilities. Love doesn't die because people change. It dies because people stop being curious about those changes. Neglecting physical affection is a slow but powerful destroyer. This isn't just about sex, though that matters too, but about the everyday gestures, holding hands, hugs, touching their shoulder as you pass by. Long-term relationships often become less physical, not because love is gone, but because life gets busy. But physical touch is a language, and when it goes unspoken, love starts to feel cold. Couples begin to feel like roommates, and even if there's no conflict, there's no warmth either. We all need to be touched, not just sexually, but lovingly. Without that, the emotional bond weakens. Fear of vulnerability can destroy a relationship from within. In long-term partnerships, people sometimes build emotional armor. Maybe there was a betrayal, or maybe years of criticism taught someone that it's not safe to be open. So they hide. They don't talk about their fears, their insecurities, their emotional needs. They pretend to be strong, to be fine. But real love requires risk, the risk of being known completely. When partners hide behind masks, even to protect themselves, intimacy fades. Love thrives on vulnerability. Without it, all that's left is performance. One of the quietest yet most corrosive destroyers of love is routine. Predictability can feel safe, but it can also feel lifeless. Wake up, go to work, eat dinner, sleep, repeat. When spontaneity disappears, so does excitement. You stop making memories. You stop doing new things together. You stop growing as a couple. And love, which once felt like a grand adventure, becomes a monotonous duty. Passion needs space to breathe. It needs playfulness, laughter, adventure. Without those things, the relationship might remain stable, but the love inside it dies of boredom. And finally, fear of change can doom a relationship. Over time, people evolve. Their values shift, their interests grow, their needs transform. In a healthy relationship, both people allow each other to grow, even when it's uncomfortable. But when one or both partners resist change, clinging to who the other used to be or who they want them to remain, conflict arises. Love demands that we embrace each other's evolution. When we resist that, we end up loving a memory, not a person. And the real person, right there in front of us, starts to feel unseen. Long-term love is not for the faint-hearted. It's not about luck or perfect compatibility. It's about waking up every day and choosing to love, even when it's hard. It's about fighting not against each other, but for each other. The things that destroy love don't announce themselves loudly. They slip in through apathy, neglect, distraction, and fear. But if we can spot them early, if we're willing to have hard conversations, show up with courage and stay curious, we give love a fighting chance. Because in the end, it's not grand gestures that keep love alive. It's the small daily choices to care, to see, to connect, and to stay open. What matters is not whether love fades temporarily. All relationships go through seasons. What matters is whether we're willing to reawaken it, whether we're willing to say, I still see you, I still choose you, I'm still here, because love dies in silence. But it also comes back in whispers,